You're born in a private hospital in Culiacan, not the public one. A clinic your father essentially owns through a series of shell companies the accountant set up years before you existed. Your mother has her own wing. Armed men control the hallways dressed as orderlies. The doctor who delivers you has performed this service before for the family and understands the protocol. No birth certificate filed through normal channels. No government database entry for 72 hours until the paperwork is processed through contacts in the civil registry. You exist before the state knows you exist. Your father holds you on the first night and says something to your mother that she'll repeat to you years later. He said, "This one gets out. I don't care what it costs. This one gets a real life. You don't get a real life. You grow up on a property in the Sierra Madre that doesn't appear on any map. The hacienda has its own water supply, its own generator, its own airstrip. There are horses, gardens, a swimming pool shaped like a lagoon with imported stone. There's a chapel where a priest comes every Sunday, driven in blindfolded for the last 40 minutes of the journey, so he can never describe the route. You have dogs, exotic birds, a pet ocelot your father acquired from a trafficker in Chiapas who owed him a favor. You have everything a child could want, inside a perimeter you can never leave without armed escort. Your playground is a fortress. Your backyard is a compound. Your normal is 30 men with automatic rifles, rotating shifts around the clock to make sure nobody kills your family while you sleep. School comes to you. 3 tutors rotate on 2-week cycles. They arrive blindfolded the same way the priest does. They teach you mathematics, Spanish literature, English, world history. Your father insists on the English. He checks your progress personally. His English is broken but functional, learned through necessity, through dealings with American distributors who only negotiate in their own language. Yours will be perfect, he says. Perfect English opens doors I can never walk through. You don't understand what he means yet. You will. Your mother is beautiful, composed, and operates on a frequency of controlled denial that you won't recognize until you're much older. She dresses immaculately. She manages the household staff with quiet authority. She never discusses your father's work. When you ask what he does, she says agriculture and livestock. When you ask why the men carry guns, she says it's because the ranch is remote and there are dangers in the mountains. When you ask why you can't go to school like normal children, she pauses for exactly 1 second too long before saying that normal schools aren't safe enough for a family of your father's importance. She's not lying entirely. She's editing. She's giving you the version of reality that lets you sleep at night and lets her look at herself in the mirror every morning. You love her completely. You also learn, without anyone teaching you, that love and truth don't always live in the same house. Your father is present in bursts. He disappears for days, sometimes weeks. When he returns, he's entirely yours. He teaches you to ride horses. He takes you fishing in a private lake stocked with bass. He tells you stories about his childhood in a village so poor that shoes were shared between siblings. He came from nothing. Actual nothing. Not the comfortable nothing of middle-class modesty. The nothing of dirt floors and skipped meals, and a father who picked crops until his back curved permanently. Everything around you, the hacienda, the horses, the men, the helicopters, was built by a man who couldn't afford shoes at age 10. That fact is the foundation of every lesson he ever teaches you. The world doesn't give, the world takes. If you want something, you build the machinery to take it first. At 12, after the magazine incident, the pretending stops. Not all at once, but the membrane between the official story and the real one becomes thinner until it dissolves completely. You overhear a conversation about a shipment intercepted off the coast of Guerrero, 4 tons. Street value discussed in numbers so large they sound fictional. Your father loses 2 men in the operation. He doesn't mourn them publicly. He provides for their families immediately. New houses. Monthly payments. Education funds for the children. This is how loyalty is maintained, not through fear alone, but through the understanding that the organization takes care of its own, alive or dead. Fear makes men obey. Provision makes men die for you willingly. You meet the accountant when you're 13. He's different from the other men in your father's orbit. Thin, nervous, glasses that he adjusts constantly, fingers that move like they're typing on invisible keyboards. He doesn't carry a weapon. He doesn't need to. Your father introduces him simply. This man is the reason we have what we have. Anyone can move product. Only he can move the money. The accountant's real name is never used in your presence. Everyone calls him El Licenciado, the graduate, a title that carries more weight in this world than any military rank. He manages a team of 14 people spread across offices in Mexico City, Panama City, and Madrid. They operate legitimate accounting firms that service real clients and file real tax returns. Hidden inside that legitimate operation is the machinery that processes roughly $800 million annually in illicit revenue. He explains it to you one afternoon using a napkin and a pen. Your father's operation generates cash. Cash is useless in large quantities because you can't deposit $5 million in a bank without triggering alerts. So I break it into thousands of small deposits across hundreds of accounts. Then, I move it through shell companies in 12 different countries. By the time it completes the cycle, it's been invoiced, taxed, and documented so many times that no investigator on Earth can trace it back to its origin. It takes roughly 90 days to clean a batch. We lose about 8 cents on every dollar to transaction costs, bribes, and commissions. Your father earns 92 cents of every dollar he generates. Most businesses would kill for those margins. He pauses. Some do. At 15, your life splits into 2 parallel tracks that never intersect. Track 1 is the son of a wealthy agricultural family. You attend a private school in Guadalajara under a modified name. You have classmates, a social life, a girlfriend who thinks your family owns avocado orchards in Michoacán. You drive a European SUV. You wear designer clothes. You go to restaurants, concerts, parties. You are charming, educated, generous with money in the way that children of wealth are generous, effortlessly, without understanding what money actually costs because you've never earned it through labor. Track 2 is the heir. On school breaks, you return to the Sierra. You sit in meetings where men discuss territorial disputes, law enforcement movements, political payments. Your father is teaching you the architecture of the empire, not because he wants you in the business, but because he needs you to understand what you'll inherit, whether you choose to or not. The empire doesn't ask for consent. It simply transfers. At 17, something shifts. The government launches a new offensive. Your father's name appears on a joint task force list shared between 3 countries. The bounty reaches $15 million. $15 million for information leading to his capture. That number changes the mathematics of loyalty. Suddenly, every person who knows your father's location is carrying a lottery ticket worth more than they'll earn in 10 lifetimes. Your father responds by contracting his circle. The 50 men become 30. The 30 become 15. The properties rotate. You never sleep in the same location for more than 4 nights. Your mother moves to a residence in Querétaro under a false identity. You stop attending school in Guadalajara. The girlfriend stops receiving calls. The normal track doesn't end gradually. It ends overnight. One morning you're a student with avocado money and weekend plans. The next morning you're in an armored vehicle, heading to a mountain safe house, with a bag packed by someone else containing clothes chosen for mobility, not style. Your father ages a decade in 2 years. He's 48, but moves like a man of 60. He sleeps 3 hours a night. He changes phones every 72 hours. He communicates through a chain of messengers because digital surveillance has made direct calls suicidal. He trusts almost no one. The paranoia isn't irrational. 3 of his former lieutenants have been captured in the last 18 months. 2 cooperated with authorities in exchange for reduced sentences. The information they provided resulted in seizures, arrests, and the dismantling of 2 major distribution corridors. Your father rebuilt both corridors within 6 months. The machinery is resilient because the demand never stops. Americans consume. Your father supplies. The morality of the equation is irrelevant to the equation itself. At 19, you're fully operational. Not in logistics, not in transport, in the financial architecture. El Licenciado becomes your direct mentor. Your father decided that your value to the organization lies not in moving product, but in protecting the money. You're educated, bilingual, presentable. You can walk into a bank in Houston or a law office in Madrid and look like exactly what your documents say you are. A young Mexican entrepreneur with legitimate business interests. You open accounts. You incorporate companies. You purchase commercial real estate in cities where the organization needs to park assets. You're good at it. Exceptional, actually. The skills your father forced you to develop, the English, the mathematics, the economics, they're the exact skills required to make hundreds of millions of dollars disappear into the legitimate financial system without a trace. At 21, the military finds one of the safe houses. Your father escapes through a tunnel that exits 400 meters away in a drainage canal. He runs through raw sewage in the dark for 20 minutes. When he reaches the extraction vehicle, he's covered in filth and breathing like a man twice his age. You're waiting in the vehicle. You've never seen your father look small before. In that moment, crouched in the back seat, smelling like a sewer, chest heaving, eyes scanning every window for threats, he looks like what he actually is. A man running out of time. He looks at you. He doesn't say anything for a long time. Then he says, "The envelope. In the office in Querétaro. Behind the painting your mother bought in San Miguel. When the time comes, open it, not before." You don't open it. Not yet. You tell yourself you'll open it when things calm down. Things don't calm down. Your father is captured 14 months later at a residence in Mazatlan. The operation involves Marines, helicopters, and coordination between 2 governments. You watch the footage on television from a hotel room in Mexico City. They lead him out in handcuffs. He's wearing a plain white shirt. He looks directly into the cameras with an expression you've seen 1,000 times. The calculation, the assessment, the quiet measurement of every variable in the room. Except this time, the variables don't favor him. The perimeter is military. The aircraft is government. The destination is a maximum security facility from which extraction has been attempted twice by others and failed both times. Your mother calls you. She's crying but composed. She says one sentence. He told me to tell you about the envelope. You drive to Querétaro. The residence is untouched. The authorities don't know about it yet. Behind the painting, a large oil canvas of the San Miguel skyline your mother purchased years ago. There's a wall safe you never knew existed. Inside is a thick manila envelope. You open it. It contains a Canadian passport with your photograph and a name you've never seen. A birth certificate from Ontario matching the passport. A bank account in Singapore with a balance of $2 million. Clean money. Legitimately earned through a real estate holding company that El Licenciado set up 7 years ago, specifically for this purpose. A letter of admission to a business school in Toronto. Deferred, renewable annually for the last 3 years. Your father has been renewing it every year, paying the deposit every year, keeping the seat open every year. There's a handwritten letter. His handwriting is rough, barely legible, the penmanship of a man who taught himself to write as a teenager. The letter is short. I built everything so you'd never need any of it. This envelope is the only thing I built that matters. The passport is real, the money is clean, the school is expecting you. Don't come visit me. Don't contact your mother for 6 months. Don't use your real name ever again. The only thing I did right was make sure you could leave. Leave. You sit on the floor of the Querétaro house, holding a passport that belongs to a person who doesn't exist yet, but could. A clean identity. Enough money. A school in a country where your last name means nothing. Your father, the most wanted man in the hemisphere, the man who built an empire on suffering, who ordered things you'll never fully know, who lived in tunnels and safe houses and armored vehicles for the last 5 years of his freedom, spent those 5 years quietly building a door. Not for himself, for you. Every year renewing the admission. Every year keeping the account funded. Every year maintaining an escape route for a son he was training for the empire with one hand while building him an exit with the other. You hold the passport. You look at the name, it's nobody. It's a person with no history, no family, no inheritance, no empire, no armed men, no fortune, no father. It's a blank life. The real life he promised your mother the night you were born. This one gets out. You put the passport back in the envelope. You put the envelope back in the safe. You close the painting. You drive back to Mexico City. You call El Licenciado. You tell him your father has been captured and that operations need to continue. You tell him you'll be assuming oversight of the financial architecture. He's quiet for a long time. Then he says, "He told me about the envelope. He made me promise to tell you to use it." You say nothing. He says, "You're not going to use it, are you?" You're not. You know you're not, because leaving means abandoning your mother. Leaving means the organization fragments and the men who depend on it, their families, their children, face the consequences. Leaving means your father's empire collapses, and his capture becomes the end of everything he built, instead of a transfer of power. Leaving means freedom. And freedom, you've learned, is a word for people whose decisions don't determine whether other people live or die. You close the passport in the safe. You inherit the empire. You become what your father spent his whole life trying to prevent you from becoming. Not because you wanted to. Because the machinery doesn't stop when the operator changes. It just needs someone at the controls. And you were built for the controls before you were born. The hacienda, the tutors, the English lessons, the accountant, the meetings, the numbers. All of it was preparation for a throne your father constructed with one hand while building an escape hatch with the other. You chose the throne, or the throne chose you. In this world, the distinction between choosing and being chosen dissolved a long time ago. Probably around the same day you were born in a private clinic in Culiacan, surrounded by armed men, entering a world that had already decided who you were before you took your first breath. The envelope is still in Querétaro. The passport is still valid. The money is still there. The school renews every year because the automatic payment your father arranged still processes. Somewhere in Toronto, there's an empty seat in a classroom with your name on it. Not your real name. The clean one. The one that could have been you. Every year, it renews. Every year you don't go. And every year the distance between the man you are and the man you could have been gets wider. Until eventually, it'll be too wide to cross and the envelope will just be paper in a safe, behind a painting, in a house where nobody lives anymore. That wraps it up for today. This story is entirely fictional, but cartel succession and the children born into organized crime remain one of the most documented and least understood dimensions of the drug trade. If this one hit different, drop a comment and tell me the moment you knew he wasn't going to open that envelope. Subscribe for more. See you in the next one.